on right now. We're starting to see the effects of Joe Biden hitting the world as we see him now and his Secretary of State, who was appointed, dealing with matters of addressing issues with world leaders and scary, scary times. But reality is definitely what we have hitting is reality. I'm just trying to fix something here real quick, and I think we got it right there. Okay. Well, so we have, let's just get into this, I guess. We'll take a look and see. We all remember when Donald Trump left the White House, and to this day, I think majority of Americans like myself are just confounded to what the hell happened. Why did he walk away and hand this over to the Democrats? Why? It still baffles to me. The man had the world's largest armed militia in the world and the world's most powerful military at his disposal. Yet he chose to walk away on January 20th from the White House and hand the American people and our nation and our government over to that of the criminal establishment of both Democrats and Republicans' long-standing swamp of corruption. Why? That, I don't know. But we know when he left parting words saying he'd see us soon. We've known since he has left in the last several months, a lot of rumor he's going to be running 2024. There's a split between a lot of people right now, some considering him a coward, that he failed, and he's no Abraham Lincoln. I partially feel that way. Myself, I'm very disappointed that Trump allowed this to happen and walked away. But it is what it is, and this is what we're dealing with. Though many of the opposite, there's many as well believe there's something of a plan for the return in 2024, of which, possibly, I don't know. I don't know by 2024. I don't know if we're going to make it that far before either we face a civil war or possibly a breakout into World War III by foreign enemies of ours attempting to come in and seize the assets of America. We'll see how that all goes as time progresses, I guess. But right now, what we're looking at is a situation here. We have the U.S. and China trade, sharp rebukes at high-level face-to-face talks in Alaska. This is a joke, a total joke. We have Biden's Secretary of State now, who is the guy who was at these meetings. Blanklin is his name. This guy, one thing people got to understand and realize, this guy goes back to Obama. This guy is, from my understanding, a paper brain educated, ass-sitting idiot. Pretty much it's all we at right now in this government. But he's a Democrat as well. He's a very staunch and strong Democrat. And clearly, in past statements, this has all been prearranged, because this right here is from July of 2020. And you can see that in July of 2020, mind you, July of 2020, Biden had already considered that he was going to win, and this guy was going to be his Secretary of State. Now, this guy also has ties with Hunter Biden and the Ukraine issues that were going on at the time with the state attorney who was fired, and the corrupt deals and the quid quo pro of Joe Biden with his threats to, withhold American funding to you. Over there with Ukraine about the issues with his son and what have you going on with the oil companies. And this guy has some interest in with that. But we're going to listen real quick to what this guy had to say. Now, mind you, this is back in July of 2020.
Biden administration handled China.
Well, this is asking this guy, who is now Biden's Secretary of State. This is back in 2020. What would it be like in a Biden administration dealing with China? Or pretty much dealing...
How would a Biden administration handle China?
Well, the first thing is we have to dig out from a strategic deficit that I'm afraid President Trump has put us in, because right now, by every key metric, China's strategic position is stronger and ours is weaker as a result of the president's leadership. Think about it this way. President Trump has helped China advance its own key strategic goals, weakening American alliances, check. Leaving a vacuum in the world for China to fill, check. Abandoning our own values and giving Beijing a green light to trample on human rights and democracy in places like Xinjiang or in Hong Kong, check. And then maybe worst of all, debasing our own democracy by attacking its institutions, its people, its values every single day, and so reducing its appeal compared to China. That's what I call checkmate. So
Now, so I just want to say, this guy is an idiot. This was in July, so now, too, mind you, it says here in the comments, I don't know if you're seeing this below. Let me zoom in so you can see this, because this is hilarious. This is just hilarious to what we're going to go into. Can you see here? It says, let me zoom in a little bit, make it a little bit bigger, because I want everybody to be able to see this. Right here it says, Biden wants to engage China from a position of strength. Right? This is back in July. This is what they're assuming, right? From a position of strength. Now, Biden, this position of strength. Let's see how this all plays out. But anyway, real quick, I just want to replay what this guy was saying. He has
Trump has helped China advance that I'm afraid.
How would a Biden?
We're going to listen to this one more time. I'm going to narrate with this on my opinion so we know where we're going.
The first thing is we have to dig out from a strategic deficit that I'm afraid President Trump has put us in.
So right away, this guy back last July is going to say President Trump is putting us into a deficit, and he has affected us in negative relations with world leaders. This is where he's going. So let's listen.
Because right now, by every key metric, China's strategic position is stronger, and ours is weaker as a result of the president's leadership. Think about it this way. President Trump has helped China advance its own key strategic goals, weakening American alliances.
So he says we're weakening American alliances. Remember that. This is what this idiot's saying.
Check. Leaving a vacuum in the world for China to fill.
Leaving a vacuum in the world for China to fill. So what he's insinuating here is that we are harming, Trump is harming the Chinese people. Trump is helping them suppress their people and what have you. So, and then he says, check.
Check. Abandoning our own values.
Abandoning our own values. Our own values would be expanding liberty, expanding, the Republic of the United States and the constitutional principles and values of what we stand to as a free, self-governing people. So he's saying we're abandoning those principles and values. Just remember this, because I got some things coming.
And giving Beijing a green light to trample on human rights and democracy.
So he's saying giving Beijing
democracy in places like Xinjiang or in Hong Kong.
Hong Kong.
Check.
Hong Kong. Check. Right? This is what this guy's saying. He's saying that Trump is aiding China in suppressing the people in Beijing and Hong Kong. Okay? And that the Chinese people obviously don't like Trump is what he's trying to insinuate, right? Just remember that. People in Bangkok, they don't like, in Hong Kong, they don't like Trump. Just remember, he said that. Check.
And then maybe worst of all, debasing our own democracy by...
Now he says our own democracy. I need you to pay very close attention to that, because this right here is the problem. This guy's a Democrat, like Joe Biden is a Democrat. And what is apparent today is that the majority of American people do not seem to recall our American history to realize that the Democrats are not a part of America. They never stood for the Constitution of the United States of America. They never wanted the Republic of the Free Constitution of the United States of America. They've opposed it from the very beginning. Since the Revolutionary War, the Democrats then were known as the British Loyalist Tory. In 1828, the Tory formed the Democratic Pro-Slavery Party. And then that's what they wanted. They wanted a democratic democracy. And then we know in the Civil War of 1861, the Democrats attempted to overthrow the constitutional free republic of the United States of America. They drafted their own constitution and they established their own government, of which they had the goal to overthrow the constitutional republic of the United States of America and revert it to that of a democratic democracy. You see, and they still are on board with this goal because they still refer to America as a democracy when we are not a democracy, we are a republic. But let's listen to him say this one more time so we're all clear on this.
Hong Kong, check. And then maybe worst of all, debasing our own democracy by attacking its institutions, its people, its values every single day, and so reducing its appeal compared to China. That's what I call checkmate.
So that's what he calls checkmate. So understand now, this guy is an idiot, total idiot. Of course, and he has no respect right now at world standing, which we're going to take a look and see. But first, I would just like to say one thing. I want to look at this. This is the speech from Abraham Lincoln, a Republican during the Civil War, and a part of the speech where he said, "A house divided against itself cannot stand. I believe this government cannot endure permanently half slave and half free. I do not accept the Union to be dissolved. I do not expect the house to fall, but I do expect it will cease to be divided. It will become all of one thing or all of the other." Now, with that said, sadly, it appears the Democrats have diminished the nation to a point We may be becoming that all of the other. We won the Civil War, and we were maintaining that of our republic. But today it appears the Democrats are finally breaking down. I mean, right now, we're no longer really the true constitutional republic of the free United States of America anymore. We are now the banana republic of the United States of America. Because the complicity with what we believe to be the Republican establishment in our government is not really Republican. They're a bunch of lazy-ass attorneys who are failed attorneys that have this, their only alternative was an elected position. These guys don't know the American history or the principles and values of American republicanism. They don't have a goddamn clue. Half of the Republicans in this country right now are nothing but self-serving, ungrateful, disgusting, inhumane jerk-offs. And as well, most of the elected officials in the Republican establishment, outside of people like Marguerite Green, who is one who is right now trying so hard, but you can see there's a joint effort by Democrats and Republicans to squash this poor little girl, who is the only true American right now speaking out for the American people in our Congress. Sadly. I mean, what a minority of true Republicans we have left, because the rest of them are nothing but lip service, worthless, disgusting, disgraceful, ass-sitting losers is what they are. But, you know, that's what we're dealing with right now. And all in all, I don't know, right now there's something I'll touch on later. I'm going to do another video about relation to Trump. There is some new information I've received about things, and some things said from, we'll just say, anonymous sources. I'll be doing a video on that further ahead. But for right now, I just want to continue with this here. Just remember, though, right here, the Lincoln speech about a house divided. And now understand, Lincoln was making this statement in relation to that of a government of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. Either we're going to be one of all thing or all the other. We cannot sustain as both. And I agree with that. We cannot keep going like this. And the Democratic Party, in my opinion, if we want America to be as what it was founded, the Democratic Party and all Democratic-minded people need to go. Get out of our government. And those who want to be a democratic democracy, you can get the hell out of our nation. But anyway, let's move forward. There's another link here to the whole speech of what I just said. All of those links are listed in the description below. You can go ahead and look there if you want to browse through them. But I want to touch here. America is a republic and not a pure democracy. The contemporary efforts to weaken our republican customs and institutions in the name of greater equality thus ran against the efforts by the American founders to defend our country from the potential exercise of a democratic majorities. Okay, now, is this true? Is this true? This is a thing that's by the Heritage Foundation. There's a link in it below. You can read the whole story. Is it true? Yes, it is. Here's the Federalist Letter, paper number 10, which many probably recall this from many of my prior videos, and where I try to make this clear, that in the Federalist Papers, we make very clear that America is not, this is Federalist Paper number 10, you can go read the whole thing, but as you can see here, I have highlighted democracy. But the most important part is right here. The two great points of difference between a democracy and a republic. I don't know if you can see it. Let me make this larger so everybody can see what I'm reading. I want to make sure everybody, right here, you see right here where it says, from this view of subject, it may be, oh, here we go, I'm sorry. The two, right here, he speaks right here. Let me read this paragraph here. You see the little mouse up there moving? Can you see it? Right, that's where we're going to start. A republic, by which I mean a government in which the scheme of representation takes place, opens a different prospect and promise, the cure for which we are seeking. So a republic is what we are seeking. That's what our founders wanted. That's what we actually got. We all remember that when Thomas Jefferson was asked, what did you give us? He said, a republic if you can keep it. Okay? Now, we open here, the representation opens a different perspective and a promise for the cure for which we are seeking. Let us examine the points in which it varies from pure democracy, and we shall comprehend both the nature of the cure and efficiency of which it must derive from the Union. The two great points of difference between a democracy and a republic are, first, the delegation of the government. Okay, but I'm going to leave it at that. You can read the rest of it you want, because that right there in itself states clear that enough to me, I mean, anybody I think understands what he's saying, you get the point, right? America is not a democracy. Our founders had no intention of making us a democracy because we are not a majority rule. We are a constitutional republic. Every individual is equally protected under the republic to the rights and the guarantees of rights and protection of the law as the Constitution sets forth. Every individual. And no mob rule can take that individual's rights. But under a democratic democracy, they could, because then the majority rules. And the majority can steal from an individual or a minority all they want, which is self-evident. You look at today, the idiocy that goes on with the minority of like the black Americans who are a minority, and they choose to be a minority because they separate from the rest of the country in the Democratic Party, which is a majority rule party. You want to talk about idiocy, right? A minority and a majority rule party, as if they're ever going to get anywhere. But it's really not their fault. The Democrats have manufactured a society where the majority of the black minorities live are under Democratic control, and they have manufactured those societies where they keep them trapped as to be poverty-stricken, disgraceful societies of crime and drugs and lack of education and broken families, domestic violence, you name it. It's just horrible. It's just a horrible situation that's manufactured by Democrats, where the majority of the minority of the black Americans are now entrapped and ensnared. Lacking in education, you really can't blame them for not understanding what we're talking about right now. But there is a good, as well, minority of black Americans who are educated and do understand what I'm saying. Many of the conservative blacks today in America who are outside those Democratic-controlled ghettos, they get it. They understand it. People like Candace Owen, Ben Carson, such, et cetera, they get it. But here I just wanted to make the point, we are not a democracy. And then here, one of the only times I had found this was a tweet, was Mike Lee. He is one of the only conservative Republicans I ever seen actually, an elected official actually say and agree with what I've been saying all along. The word democracy appears nowhere in the Constitution, perhaps because our form of government is not a democracy. It's a constitutional republic. Amen! Finally! But mind you, he said this October 7, 2020. I had been bombarding every representative through emails and such like that back then, trying to enlighten them. It appears somebody actually may have read that email and got the gist of it, because Mike Lee appears to get it. He gets it, that we are not a democracy, we're a republic. I have the link to this right here. I don't know if you see this. On my screen, it's appearing like it may be too small for people to see, so I'm enlarging this and zooming in. And then there you go. That's so everybody can see that big in the screen, right? The word democracy appears nowhere in the Constitution, perhaps because our form of government is not a democracy. It's a constitutional republic. To me, it matters. It should matter to everyone. I agree with that. Who worries about the excessive accumulation of power in the hands of the few? I agree with it. See, he gets it. He gets it. He understands why we're not a democracy. And that's what everybody in America really needs to snap out of it and get real. Do your due diligence research and learn who the hell you are as an American and what your responsibility as an American. Because I'll tell you what, ignorance of the law in this country is no excuse. Ignorance of your place as an American is no goddamn excuse either. Know your place as an American. But now, we're going to go back here. We're going to, real quick, I want to, right here, I just want to read this title to you again, and then we're going to go forward on to where I'm going with this. Biden wants to engage China from position of strength. Now, you heard that, right? Now we're going to go and we're going to look at the position of strength. Let's take a look at the China-U.S. Meeting that took place here in Alaska on the trade and the negotiations with China and the U.S. and Biden's administration and his Secretary of State guy talking with China. Let's take a listen.
Japan and the ROK, those two countries are China's second, and 美国并不是一个已经完美的。
我们希望美国在讲什么普世价值啊，什么国际舆论的时候，想想自己心里是不是踏实？因为你们不能够代表。你们只能代表美国政府。
Given your extended remarks, permit me please to add just a few of my own before we get down to work, and I know Mr. Sullivan.
This guy's an idiot.
Well, I have to tell you, in my short time as Secretary of State, I've spoken to, I think, nearly 100 counterparts from around the world. And I just made my first trip, as I noted, to Japan and South Korea. I have to tell you, what I'm hearing is very different from what you described. I'm hearing deep satisfaction that the United States is back, that we're re-engaged with our allies and partners. I'm also hearing deep...
Now, I want to interrupt there. This guy is... Now, China is pretty making it clear that no one in the world is satisfied with Biden. Anybody on a serious note is recognizing what a clown show this has all been and what a disgrace America looks like right now. And that's the word around the world right now. And with the majority of the people around the world right now, the Chinese people, they're as devastated as the American people that Trump walked away, as well as the Iranian people are devastated that Trump walked away. But right now, under the Biden administration, the world is in a state of panic because America is the only beacon of light for the totalitarian world out there outside of America. And the people trapped in that totalitarian world of many totalitarian regimes like China and Iran and such as what I just mentioned, their only hope is America. And this idiot here, what he is talking about, that things are back on board and that he feels people, he's talking about people who are the enemies of America and the allies of the Democratic Party, the Islamic Muslim nations, China itself, and that of the nations involved with that alliance of them. Okay, that excludes Russia. Though Russia's a communist country, Russia's a nationalist nation. It doesn't agree with the world order. It keeps to itself, and it's so they don't like Russia. And they don't like Russia, to be honest with you, because Russia was allied with the Constitutional Republic of the United States of America since the Revolutionary War. They were allied with us in the Revolutionary War. They were allied with us in the Civil War against the Democrats. They were allied with us in World War I, and they were allied with us in World War II. Russia's always been an ally to America on the principles and the basis of that of a nationalist position, as like a sovereign nation to choose its own sovereignty. But I just want, and obviously this idiot here, the one that Joe Biden picked, this guy has no idea of reality. He is nothing but a paper-brained, educated, ass-sitting, worthless, goddamn idiot, and he's making a fool of America in front of the world in this meeting. Let's listen to this idiot.
Concern about some of the actions your government is taking.
So we look forward to the conversation today, but I do hope this conversation will be one carried out with confidence on both sides. So it's not lectures or long, winding statements. It's the opportunity for us to explain where we're coming from, to hear where you are coming from, and to indicate at bottom what our principles, our priorities, and our long-term strategies are. That's what we hope for in the dialogue that lies ahead. That is the spirit with which we approach this, and we look forward to continuing the discussion.
So pretty much, and this is why China's being frustrated, because, as if they didn't know what the hell they were coming to the table for. And this is the Democrats. They have no agenda. They have no line of expectations or any exampling of what they hope to accomplish or anything of what's actually taking place right now in world trade or negotiations going on. They just want to sit up here and talk. Well, we're hoping for that we can, be friends here and we can talk and then everybody can get along. We'll make our point, you make your point. You know what I'm saying? That's what we're hoping to do. They don't know that. That's what the hell this meeting's for. They didn't need this idiocy that takes place here. But let's continue listening.
Discussion today. Thank you, everybody.
我们把你们想得太好了，我们认为你们会遵守基本的外交礼节。
Real quick, what I just said, China's about to say. Just so, I just want him to say, they feel kind of the same way. Let's listen to this.
我们把你们想得太好了，我们认为你们会遵守基本的外交礼节。
Well, I think we thought too well of the United States. We thought that the U.S. side will follow the necessary diplomatic protocols.
所以我们刚才必须阐明我们的立场。
So for China, it was necessary that we make our position clear.
我现在讲一句，你们没有资格在中国的面前说你们从实力的地位出发同中国谈话。
So let me say here that in front of the Chinese side, the United States does not have the qualification to say that it wants to speak to China from a position of strength.
20年前
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? So now let's go back here and look. The title to this video, back from July of last year with this idiot, it says here, Biden wants to engage China from a position of strength. And we just heard what China is saying right now, the Biden Secretary of State. I want to play this one more time.
Not have the qualification to.
So this is what he says, and then listen to what the interpreter says.
你们没有资格在中国的面前说你们从实力的地位出发同中国谈话。
So let me say here that in front of the Chinese side, the United States does not have the qualification to say that it wants to speak to China from a position of strength.
So China's pretty much telling this jerk off here, this stupid idiot of Biden's secretary. This guy is so weak, it's disgraceful. Right now, what's happening in our country is disgraceful. And I can't believe that the minority of true American people were sitting back and allowing this to continue, this shit show parade, this mockery of our nation by these disgraceful people who are treasonous, no good scumbags, not only of the Democrats, but as well the complicit Republicans with them. Let me tell you, and that's in my next video going to be coming about with Trump, to realize the reality of how much was not only with the traitor Mike Pence, who is now trying to, like with Huckabee, trying to come up and trying to act like he's a Republican and he's endorsing her for the governor and this, that. Look, you traitor scumbag Mike Pence, you just might as well give up. Everybody's got your number, you scumbag. You're a rhino, no good, treasonous scumbag traitor to this country. But anyway, back to what we're talking about here. And then just on a note, though, Trump, in truth, now, like I say, I'm going to make another video about this. There's some new things come to light to try and understand why Trump may have walked away and why he may not have done what we all expected he should have done. And there's good cause to what may have prevented it from happening, but that's another video. I want to continue on with this, but I'm going to let everybody know that video is coming. But right now, as we see, China has no respect for America right now whatsoever. They consider us weak, worthless, and not even worth negotiating with, to be honest with you. Now, but the other thing I want to talk about now, this guy in his video here, he blames everything on Trump. He says that Trump, as we remember, and I told you all note, he says, you know, all the world relations and how it's all breaking down. Here's the problem I got with that. When we go forward here, this is Iran, okay? Iran, the world's Islamic national terrorist nation of the world. And what most people, it seems, are ignorant in America don't realize that Iran was once an ally to America, was considered mini-America. It was a sister nation of ours. They had a constitution there verbatim to us. They were known as mini-America. And that was 1978, 1979. They were overthrown by the Islamic Muslims and then turned into the totalitarian Islamic regime they are today. But by the inspiration of Donald Trump and those people who remember being free in Iran, they were literally calling out to Donald Trump. And I mean, when I say these people in Iran put their lives on the line, because in that country it's considered treason to speak out against the Islamic rulers, and they will be killed publicly and hung. They'll be beheaded, hung, shot, murdered in a firing line, what have you, for doing what they're doing. And these people literally put their life on the line and calling out to Donald Trump and praising America and wanting and asking America for aid and freeing them from the totalitarian Islamic Muslim regime. People seem to forget this, but this is what happened during the Trump administration. This was the effect Trump had on world nations. And you can't take this from the guy. I can't take this from the guy. He did great things around the world. He inspired the world. And there's no denying this. There's no denying it. But let's take a quick...
They are risking their lives to bring freedom to Iran. Iranian protesters from the streets telling Fox News they thank President Trump and the American people.
Mind you, this is in 2018 under Donald Trump when he was president.
For supporting their uprising against the theocratic regime in Tehran. We interviewed the activists in Iran through a social media app, hiding their location. They do not want us to use their voices out of fears of reprisals. One protester told us, quote, "We thank you, President Trump. We call on all of the supporters of the people who oppress this regime from different fronts to put pressure with you and overthrow with us."
So as I'm saying, now this guy, this idiot right here, in his little speech that he had, he talks about how Trump has diminished our values. Clearly, what I'm showing you right now is an expression of republicanism, constitutional values of the American people spreading into Iran during Trump. Those people wanting to be liberated, wanting to be free people, wanting to reestablish Iran as a constitutional republic again and overthrow the totalitarian Islamic regime that is now enslaving them. Okay? So I don't see where in that, you dumb idiot, this guy here, you know, Stephen Blanklin, you know, you're an idiot. If you're trying to say Trump did not inspire you, you're an idiot. You're a liar, and that's what the Democrats do. This guy with his check, and his vacuums and all this stuff in his speech right here, which I remember even watching it thinking, who believes this? But I realized that Democrats believe this. You know why? Because they don't do the due diligence. The voting Democratic public are duh people that don't care. They don't follow anything. They do no due diligence, and they do what Joe Biden tells them. Joe Biden, like I said, the Democrats choose truth over facts. So the Democratic voting base of the public, they just believe whatever they're being told by the Democrats without ever checking the facts to see if it's actually the truth. And if they did check the facts, which I'm showing here, they would realize it's not the truth. As you can see here, Donald Trump had inspired freaking Iranian people to rise up, to want to be liberated into a constitutional free republic again, which these people doing that in Iran literally will be killed. If that's not inspiring republicanism of Americanism around the world, I don't know what the hell is. But anyway, let's move on to here. Now, because this guy here, idiot Blinken, mentions Bangkok and China, Hong Kong, right? And stuff, if you want to hear it again. Well, you heard it. If I told you, make note of it. So you heard it, right? So we're going to go here. We're going to listen. This is in Hong Kong. Hong Kong, China. They're walking with American flags, calling out to Trump. Praying that Donald Trump will help them liberate China, Hong Kong. They're singing the American national anthem in Hong Kong, China, during Trump's administration. And this idiot, this blatant, right-out lying Democratic piece of shit idiot is going to sit here and lie and try and say Donald Trump was diminishing the values of Americanism around the world. When anybody with a half a brain who's been following anything can look at what was taking place during Donald Trump's administration and his effect on the world, of which I'm showing you right now, Iran and China in Hong Kong. Understand, the people doing this as well in China, under the communist regime, they can be killed for doing this, okay? They literally can be killed. And look at it. They're singing the national anthem, flying through the perilous fight. Understand, this is in China during Trump's administration. You got to be joking me that this idiot right here wants to try and say Donald Trump diminished the value. You know what it is? Is what it is. The values of the Democrats is what he's talking about. You see, the values of the Democrats is a totalitarian democratic democracy, and where humanity is enslaved under the governing control of the majority of the government itself as a world alliance. That's what he's talking about. See, Trump was diminishing the Democrats' democracy vision of enslaving America and aligning us with the world regimes of totalitarianism. That's what he's talking about, because that's what Democrats are. They're worthless, no good, self-serving scumbags of a democratic democracy. That's what they want. And that's what they've wanted all the time. That's what they attempted in 1861 when they started the Civil War in our country. They tried to overthrow the constitutional free republic of the United States of America and replace it with a democratic democracy of the Democrats. That's what they tried to do. And since they lost the war, that's what they've been trying to do ever since then. So understand, this is what this idiot talks about. We're going to go forward and look more. This is Trump in India. He received the greatest welcoming of any president in American history in almost every country he's ever visited. The people of every country love Donald Trump around the world, as well as the world leaders. They received him with recognition unprecedented, like any president ever received in the history of the United States of America. India, look at this.
India is one of the few big countries where Trump's personal approval rating is above 50%.
I mean, there's no denying the fact in India. Now, and this guy here, he talks about how Trump destroyed world relations. Let me tell you, there's never been a president, you can't take away from Donald Trump, there's never been a president in American history, it's unprecedented, the reception that Donald Trump received from all world leaders. And amazingly, this guy talks about the threat with North Korea, and he mentions that as well while he's speaking here in this meeting with China, about the concerns with North Korea and young Kim Il and what have you. And let me tell you something right now. In the past, no Democrat has ever even tried to negotiate with young Kim Il. Rather, it just doesn't happen. Okay, but we're going to go forward now. This is our president, Donald Trump, walking into North Korea. The only time, unprecedented in American history, never has an American president ever stepped foot before Donald Trump into North Korea. Further, never has a president of the United States step foot into North Korea, walk into North Korea with the dictator leader of North Korea, meeting him on a friendly term, in open arms, wanting to negotiate and have a conversation with him. Let's watch this.
Walking slowly toward North Korea in the no man's land of the demilitarized zone, or DMZ. Then Kim Jong-un emerged, walking faster to catch up. The two leaders shook hands, Trump on South Korean soil, Kim Jong-un in the north.
Good to see you again. I've never expected to meet you at this place. You just accidentally made me step forward. You're the first US president to cross the border.
They were separated only by a narrow concrete strip, the demarcation line between the two Koreas. President Trump asked and was invited to cross.
I asked him, I said, would you like me to come across the line? He said, I would be honored to do that. I would be honored. Now, I didn't know really what he was going to say.
So, as you can see, this is the first president ever that you would have heard North Korea's dictatorial leader say he would be honored to invite him into his country. Never, unprecedented. But yet, this idiot, this lying Democratic scumbag wants to try to, and this is what upsets me. These Democrats literally lie on top of lies, and they twist the truth and the facts of truth so distorted out of reality to what it really is. And they do this with all this evidence, what I'm showing you is just unprecedented evidence of fact that says and proves beyond a questionable doubt that this guy is a right-out douchebag liar. Piece of shit liar. And this is the problem we have. People believe these liars, okay? And we as the people, now I'm showing you facts of evidence here that prove unquestionably this guy is a douchebag liar. And that's the problem. When our government can literally come onto the airwaves of our nation and speak to that of the posterity, the youth of our country, and the ignorant of our country, and blatantly right out lie, mislead, and deceive the American people and the public with just blatant lies, and nobody holds them accountable. That's the problem we have in this country. Because I'm showing you right now, this guy is a worthless scumbag liar. He should be right now removed, and he should be charged. He should be charged with there should be some kind of a criminal act against this guy. And in my opinion, what he's doing is a threat to the national security of this nation with the lies and the complicity he has with the lies and the twisting of the facts of truth that are distorting everything of reality. As all the Democrats, that's all they're doing right now is distorting reality. But we're going to go forward here. This is Trump in a rare meeting with Japan's emperor. Get this. Unprecedented. Never in American history before, outside of prior to the Civil War, there was meetings with the Japanese emperor back in the founding times. But, I mean, up in recent modern history, this is unprecedented. So, I mean, this was in Japan. And like I say, world relations here's Trump meeting Britain's queen. Okay? This is another unprecedented event that took place. Never before has the Queen had a royal court set up for the president to fly in a helicopter to have a sit down with her in a private court sitting. Never. This is unprecedented in American history. But here it's happening with Donald Trump. But yet, according to Biden's administration, the Secretary of State, these people are blatantly lying to the American people and the posterity. And what it is they're counting on the many people who aren't aware and aren't informed, like I'm telling you right now about the things that happen, that totally show and prove beyond a reasonable doubt of any questioning, and any person of reasonable sound mind who sees these things should be able to reasonably see. Now, what I'm saying is the truth because the facts make it clear, and it should be clear to anyone that this jerk-off of the Democrats, this guy here holds a position as secretary. You know what a powerful position that is? This guy here holds a position in power world relations right now, Secretary of State. You know, we had Pompeo before. He did a great job. He kept things serious. He didn't play no games, no lies, no what. He kept things real. This guy thinks things are, like all the Democrats, like it's a goddamn joke. Now, and there's good reason with the things that are going on with this jerk-off. Here we have, too, again, he talks about relations with China. Not only were the Chinese people singing the American national anthem, waving American flags, and praising and calling for Donald Trump, but as well the president of China himself had a great welcoming for Donald Trump, unprecedented like any other president of the United States president in the history of America. They welcomed him with open arms as like that of a friend. The professionalism and negotiations with China were in the favor of America and very fair. Trump gave no leadway for any BS, for anything that was against America. He represented America. China respected his position of authority and power, and they respected his strength that he showed. Of which, like I say, when we listen here to what is going on here in this speech here, I want you, again, we're going to listen to this, what this guy says. I want you to listen to what this guy says. His interpreter will relay in a minute.
Let me say here that in front of the Chinese side, the United States does not have the qualification to say that it wants to speak to China from a position of strength.
So you heard that, right? He pretty much, right to the Secretary of State's face of the Biden administration, told him, look, America under your administration doesn't have the authority, the power, the position, or the strength to question us. They pretty much bitch slapped this guy right there in front of everybody. You know, it's amazing. But there's a reason that the world does not respect Biden. It's the Ukraine deal with the quid pro quo that took place with him and his corrupt deals of the Democrats, and also the corrupt dealing of the Democrats with the Islamic Muslims and the terrorist effects that have been taking place in many nations around the world, all stirred up in complicity with the American Democratic establishment and the Islamic Muslims' terrorist reign on society around the world in all countries, of which complicit governments of their allies have been complicit in this, afflicting that of their own people at the cost of tens of thousands of people's lives. Over 5,000 Americans killed right here on American home ground with the complicity of the treasonous, no-good scumbag Democrats who should be, all of them in that administration, including the complicit rhinos of the Republicans, should be charged with the murder of all 5,000 Americans killed right here on our own home ground. They should be tried for the treason in their aiding and assisting the known and long-established declared enemies of the United States and the Islamic Muslims. And they did this all out of money. They did it at agreed with the money flowing in from the Islamic Muslims, padding their foundation accounts and their election accounts and what have you from foreign interests. These people are selling us out, and they were selling us out not only at the higher federal levels, but as well as the county, city, state, county, and city levels with departments of education and local county commissions selling out seats to the Islamic Muslims, granting them power for tens of thousands of dollars being given to them through donations, foundations, and campaign contributions through the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party has opened itself up to the world's foreign totalitarian regimes who are our enemies, to give them a platform in our own country to take positions against us, the American people, of which right now has resulted in what we are right now, the banana republic of the United States of America, under a criminal establishment of organized crime known as the Democratic Party with the complicit rhinos of the Republican Party, who have been long established in this criminal organization. Obviously, and this is what another thing in the video that's coming with Donald Trump, understand, in truth, we've been a banana republic longer than we knew. And there was a fluke up with the Donald Trump's win in the last one because they just didn't realize the measure and the weight of the public support. But you can damn well believe in the second election, they made sure under Biden they got all their crooked right to make sure that things turned out in their favor. And there was many complicit rhino and Republicans who were in favor with it too, because they've been complicit in the criminal actions and ongoing treason now for decades as well. And soon, though, the American people will be holding all accountable. It's coming. It's going to be coming, and it's going to be something that's going to be unprecedented in the American history to the level of that of the last Civil War of 1861. And it's going to be something damn well needed in this country, and everyone who gets held accountable is going to be very deserving of everything they get as well. But anyway, the reason why we have this guy here, most might not know, this guy was involved with Hunter Biden and the Ukraine deal and his oil positions being on the board of these foreign oil companies and what have you. Biden had called him. Biden called Blinken a superstar who could do any job. By choosing Blinken for one of the most covert jobs in the cabinet, Biden aims to install an alter ego at the helm of the State Department. So he's calling this guy his alter ego. Cut me a friggin' break. Joe Biden is nothing but a pedophile, goddamn habitual liar, and it's all he's ever been. I mean, look back at the man's history, everything he's ever, how many times he's plagiarized and what have you. It's just disgraceful, this guy. And now to see him, like the other day, he can barely stand up. The guy's suffering from Alzheimer's. God's afflicting him with like Alzheimer's and dementia, and now he can't even walk up a set of stairs. He's a disgrace. He's making a whole country look so goddamn weak. It's pathetic. It's just disgraceful. I'm so disgusted with it. But like I say, Secretary of State pick Anthony Blinken met with Hunter Biden. So understand as well too what we just seen recently with Bongino about the facts about what's going to be coming out with the videos we're not aware of, which I have seen some very explicit. I even have a thing, but I can't post it up because if I do, I'll get suspended, and I don't want to do that because I'm already suspended right now on Facebook. I'm trying to avoid that so I can at least some way relay some kind of truth to humanity here. But this guy was involved as well back in the time with Hunter Biden, with the Ukrainian dealings going on, and Joe Biden as well. So understand, there's, like I said, complicity in the treason and the corruption here. And what Joe Biden is doing, he's bringing back, because this guy also was involved with the Obama administration, okay? And he is not anybody with worldly experience outside that. All he is a failed attorney who's an accomplished criminal like Obama. You know, another failed attorney, these people. But the one thing they're not failing at is being great fucking criminals in this country and what they're doing to us, the American people in our nation. And they're destroying this country is what they're doing. These people are disgraceful and they need to be held accountable. But so you're aware, this guy was involved with the quid pro quo of Joe Biden with Ukraine and his son Hunter Biden being on a board with the Ukrainian oil companies and what have you in foreign interest. So understand, this guy's no new player to the scene. This is who he is. But, you know, I just wanted to go across, I just wanted to touch on the base here and bring up about the idiocy, because like on here, they talk about the strength, right here, position of strength. Joe Biden wants to engage China from a position of strength, and China right to their face tells them, you have no strength, you have no position of power, you have no position of anything. Again, we're going to end this now. I'm going to end it because that was my point I wanted to make. We're going to listen to what China has to say to the Secretary of State one more time.
So let me say here that in front of the Chinese side, the United States does not have the qualification to say that it wants to speak to China from a position of strength.
Is that not a joke or what? So pretty much he tells, and then right here, look, Biden wants to engage China from a position of strength. This was, mind you, this is back in July of 2020. So understand, they knew then they were going to steal this election. They knew then what they were going to do. And this has all been pre-planned then. When everybody was wondering what were these people doing in the basement of the White House, this is what they were doing. They figured out where they went wrong because they didn't crank up the corruptness in the elections enough to be able to guarantee Hillary Clinton will win. They didn't suspect the massive support from Donald Trump that he would have outpouring. That even with the small amount of corruption that they thought they had enough that they could take it, they really underestimated the power of the people, and it broke the Banana Republic. That I'm telling you right now, the Banana Republic existed then. It's existed for a long time because even George Bush Jr. in truth is a rhino. He's a Democrat, and what they have done is they have infiltrated. But see, even like when we see John McCain, right? John McCain, as you can see, as the elections move forward with like Obama, John McCain was a rhino. He's really a Democrat. He's not a Republican. Okay? They have stacked by infiltration into both parties, and that of who are not actually rhinos but are Republicans for the majority are ignorant, worthless, ass-sitting attorneys who are just educated, paper-brained idiots that are failed as a lawyer with law firms, didn't have the goal or means within them to establish their own firm, and their only alternative was to run for an elected position and live off the high-paid welfare of a government position. That's why you don't see, like, you hear them talking, about, term limits, but you don't see many of these Republicans seeking that term limit and walking away. No, they're really, because they're the only hope they got is that high-paid welfare. They're losers. They're losers, and we need to shake them all out. If anything, we need a lot more of what that Margery Green is what we need. If we had another 250 Margery Greens, we'd take our nation back to the right direction. But I'm just leaving off with that. So as we see, Biden wants to engage China with strength. China pretty much makes it clear Biden doesn't have I'll just let you hear it again. We're going to end with that. Biden wants to engage with strength, but right here, China makes it pretty clear.
So let me say here that in front of the Chinese side, the United States does not have the qualification to say that it wants to speak to China from a position of strength.
So pretty much, Biden does not have the respect of the world or the world leaders. Pretty much he has it to the point he's a disgrace, and he's making America a disgrace. And that's the point I want to make here with this video. As you can see, this guy, and then too, his Secretary of State, understand, I wanted to put out the facts so you understand, the links are below. You can see where he was involved with the Hunter Biden deal going on with Ukraine and the firing of that state attorney and stuff with the quid pro quo that took place under Joe Biden. And as well helping and aiding and assisting and covering up as Secretary of State the videos and things like that of what was found on Joe Biden or Hunter Biden's laptop. It's just disgraceful what we're seeing going on. The criminal element right now among this government in the United States is at a point it needs to be stopped. It needs to be stopped. And the point is one thing too that's coming to reality, and it's happening, and all the state militias and all the members of the state militia and the National Guard need to come together in an alliance and understanding right now. The reality is this: the law is only as effective as those who are willing to follow it. The government is charged to uphold, the president is supposed to uphold and enforce and ensure that the laws are executed as the American people have stated them to be in our Constitution. Right now, the government itself is in contempt of the very Constitution they swear an oath to, and that Constitution is what grants them their authority. And upon that contempt, they lose that authority, which means anyone who has taken an oath to the Constitution, but yet fails by contempt of that oath to uphold and defend the Constitution, when they do that in contempt, they lose their authority. So any cop is just wearing a costume. He no longer has, when he acts outside that of his consented to authority by the Constitution by being in contempt of it, he loses that authority. He's just a man in a cop costume. He has no real authority because we the people give that authority. And when they're acting in contempt to violate our rights by that, and they're acting outside the consented to powers we give them by our consent, they're in contempt of it and they lose it. And at that point, there is no law. And that's where we're at right now. When you have people in contempt of the very law who are acting as that of their own self-appointed authority over that of the authority of the people who consent to them, they're in contempt, and at that point, it's a lawless nation all around. The only idiocy is that of the people who still believe we're not a banana republic and they're following the law like, well, you can't break the law. Let me tell you something. The Constitution is very clear, and so is the Supreme Court on the values of the Constitution, that any law repugnant to the Constitution is void. Okay? And all these acts of the violations of the Second Amendment, all these rules and executive orders that are in violation of the Constitution being made, all these orders and actions by the National Guard heads, the right now governors, the police chiefs and what have you, that are enforcing all the idiocy of the state attorneys, these people are acting in contempt of the Constitution. And they're repugnant to the law. They're in contempt. Okay? And their authorities are suspended upon that contempt. They're nothing now but treasonous scumbag traitors. And soon, we the American people need to become unified and address this issue and get these people out of our government and get our government cleaned up. I don't think we can wait 4 more years, because if we continue to sit, as we can see right now with the world's response right now of like the communist totalitarian regime of China, I can assure you, and it's a fact that's known right now through those of ethical, moral, honorable people of integrity within higher intelligence are making it very clear that world totalitarian regimes are eyeing America as potential assets. It's right now the argument among the world's totalitarian regimes is who's going to get what and who's going to take over what and who's going to be the one to make the move to overthrow this country and slap down this weak, disgraceful government that we have right now in place. Because right now they're seeing that the American people aren't taking up arms and they're not doing anything to stop the idiocy that we see going on with this banana republic. We're literally the banana republic of the United States of America right now, and the American people are allowing this and condoning it and sitting back and doing nothing about it as this shit show, clown show goes on. And if we're not willing to defend our freedom and liberty, the world is watching, and the world includes that in the world of our enemies are watching. And if they see that we're not willing to step up and fight for our own freedom and liberty, and that of the defense of our own Constitution, of which we the people, it's our Constitution. If we're not willing to enforce our own Constitution, obviously with a small little amount of 512 people in our government who are literally overthrowing the nation right now from within the Democratic Party with the complicit rhinos of the Republican Party, what are we going to do against a nation like China? What are we going to do against the Islamic Muslims? Go to our knees? That's pretty much what they're thinking, and that's what they're betting on. And I can tell you right now, as things progress forward, it's only going to get worse. They're going to start eventually positioning to make a move to take America down. And if we don't do something soon to make it clear that we will fight for our freedom, our liberty, and our Constitution, and we will fight for the constitutional free republic of these United States of America as Americans, we're about to lose our country. So with that, I'm about to say have a good night, have a good weekend, and I'll see you on the next video. Thank you all for whoever took the time to watch my video, and I'll see you on the next one.